Hi, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Cigar Chat. Today I wanted to go ahead and talk about a disaster that happened back in 1980. Some of you guys might remember it. I was a little kid, so honestly, I remember hearing about it later on in life. I don't remember the specific moment when it happened, but like I said, years later, of course, we've all heard about it, and that's the eruption at Mount Saint Helens. Now, that happened back in May of 1980. So specifically, I didn't really want to talk about the disaster itself, obviously, but about a particular character that was there when this whole thing unfolded, and he actually, unfortunately, lost his life there at the mountain. And that guy's name was Harry Truman. Not Harry Truman, the president. This gentleman's name was Harry R. Truman. And Harry, very interesting character. He had actually been, he had a hunting, or I should say he had a fishing lodge out there called Spirit Lake. The name of the actual lodge was Mount Saint Helens Lodge at Spirit Lake. And Harry was an interesting character. He the press really enjoyed talking to this fellow because, once the scientists got involved and said, listen, Mount St. Helens is going to erupt, we think you should leave. He said, the hell with that. He goes, I'm going to die here. He goes, you know what? He goes, that mountain, I'm a part of it, and that mountain's a part of me. So his real wishes were to die at the lake. And I guess if you really think about it, if you really think about Harry and the way that he was, I guess he went the way he wanted to go. I mean, poor guy was 83 years old. All he really had to look forward to was two things. Well, a few things, but one of them, his bourbon and his Coke, which he loved. He had about 16 cats, which unfortunately they also perished at the site of the eruption. Legend has it, or the theory is that poor Harry was vaporized along with his cats. Now here's the deal with that whole situation. It's very sad when I think about it, but at the same time, poor Harry was 83 years old when this happened anyway. So, let's assume hypothetically, you got Harry. You said, "Okay, Harry, come out of your lodge, and we're gonna go ahead and save you." What are they gonna do? Put him in some nursing home, and he's gonna live out the last 3 or 4 years of his life miserable? I don't know. I mean, I think Harry kind of reminds us of what's good in life, and it's funny because here we are, 42 years later, we're still talking about Harry. I'd like to think that if Harry was still alive, he probably would be smoking some of my Flor de Tampa cigars. So I'm going to go ahead and fire this one up in Harry's honor. So anyway, some interesting tidbits about Harry. Harry was a World War I veteran, which I think is pretty cool. He was in the 100th Aero Squadron, which at the time was the U.S. Army service, and he was an aero mechanic. And as a result of World War I, he got to go to France. So he served our nation honorably, and the guy was a true character, man. I mean, apparently he was born in West Virginia back in 1896, and at some point his family moved over to Washington State and took him with him, obviously. He went to high school there, and he just loved that whole area there around Mount Saint Helens. He had a lodge there for over 40 years. So, I like to think that if I would have had a chance to meet this guy, I mean, I probably would have been having a bourbon with him, with Coke. Smoked a few good cigars. I don't know if Harry smoked cigars. Maybe he did, but I don't think we know that much about him. But anyway, hit it a little bit on this side here. I'll tell you what, my buddy Bryant Nicholas in Pennsylvania totally would have enjoyed talking to Harry, and Joe Fox, because Joe Fox is a West Virginia guy. So just knowing that Harry was from West Virginia, born anyway, I'm sure he would have really enjoyed that. Well, anyway, Harry was 83 years old when he died. And like I was saying earlier, I'm sure his train of thought was, rather than die in some freaking nursing home, I'd rather die here on the lake. You know, he even said it. He says he wanted to die at the lake. And, well, he got his wish. Because unfortunately, you know, on that day, May 18th, 1980, he died at Spirit Lake at Mount Saint Helens. 57 people were killed as a result of the eruption. It was the most major explosive eruption in U.S. history, or the most disastrous one, I should say. What it did was it created a thing called lahars, which were actually mudslides. And I've read a lot about this type of thing. What's really interesting is all the neighboring states, even going out further, you know, past Washington, they say that there was ashes for like, I think, weeks after the eruption. So this was a pretty crazy eruption, and as a result, if you look at Mount Saint Helens now, it doesn't have that big summit. It has like a crater in the middle. So it definitely changed the way that it looks. Altogether, and back then, it was estimated to be $1 billion worth of damage. That's a lot of money. It was 2,400,000 cubic yards worth of ash that it left behind. So, you know, it was quite a bit, obviously. When the scientists went out there and told Harry, hey, you know, you should really consider abandoning this place, leaving it, and, you know, take your cats with you, he's like, nah, I'm staying here. So, today's video and today's bourbon and cigar are dedicated to Harry. Harry R. Truman, not Harry S. Truman. And that's for no particular reason, just because I think Harry Truman from Spirit Lake Lodge was a really cool dude. Other tidbits that are pretty funny about Harry's life: he was known for kicking people out of the lodge whenever the hell he felt like it, just because he didn't want to have them around. He was married 3 times, divorced twice, the first 2 times. And then, unfortunately, his last wife, she passed away a couple years before the eruption. So he was widowed as well. But his second wife, apparently he'd get pissed off at her and he'd throw her in the lake. So that's another funny thing about Mr. Truman. He drove around in a pink 57 Cadillac around town. And his favorite whiskey bourbon was Shenley, which has been out of production for many, many years. So needless to say, I had to use Horse Soldier here, which is pretty good anyway. And you can also tack on several titles to Harry: bootlegger, prospector, and ultimately caretaker of the Mount Saint Helens Lodge at Spirit Lake. Harry R. Truman Lodge. Let's just say that in life, we can only be so blessed as to meet people like Harry. I mean, what a character! You know, what a quirky character. And I know that, you know, I've always been the same. Even when I was younger, I always enjoyed talking to older people. But truthfully, as I've gotten older, I think I enjoy it more. Speaking to people that are, you know, as wise and experienced as Harry. Was it a smart decision to stay at the lake there and die like that? Probably not. But it was his decision. And that's something that we got to respect. And men like that, you know, they had the way that they were. They had their own beliefs. And you got to respect it. You know, it's just the way it is. And like I said, I mean, he's probably better off dying there and being covered in ashes than dying in some freaking nursing home where they don't even feed you and shit, you know? That's just my train of thought. Anyway, but basically, guys, that's pretty much what I wanted to say. Just have a little video about Harry Truman and talk about the disaster at Mount Saint Helens Lodge. Like I said, which is a very interesting occurrence in our lifetime that has happened. With that being said, we're fortunate that the hurricane did not come here to Tarpon Springs. So we're still here cranking it, making cigars, selling cigars, doing our wonderful videos for your enjoyment. What else can I say? Other than thanks for watching. Hope you guys are smoking some Flor de Tampa, because these are really, really a hit. People love them. I'm enjoying the hell out of this one. So I guess we got to think about Harry. Bourbon and Coke and a good cigar. What else is better? And here's some vintage footage on Harry. I want you guys to check this out. Thanks for watching.
Most of the residents around the base of Mount Saint Helens have already been evacuated, but a few have refused to leave, including 84-year-old Harry Truman, who says the earthquake preceding this morning's eruption was the strongest he's felt so far. Truman, who is not related to the former president but is just as feisty, says he's lived here 54 years and is not about to leave. He's got enough bourbon and Coke and food, he says, to stick it out a long time.
If I left, it'd kill me. If I left this place and lost my home, I'd die in a week. I couldn't live. I couldn't stand it. So I'm like that old captain, and by God, I'm going down the ship. Come on, Truman. We're evacuating. We're getting hell and going out of here. They said the office down in Vancouver radio and said, you come out of there and bring everybody with you. I said, hell, I'm not going. They said, well, bring Harry with you. And I said, you tell them, by God, I'm not leaving. You want to get out of here. Well, that baby is coming up. It was a moonlit night. About 1 o'clock that night, the last Tuesday night, I came down here and brought myself a little hooch, and I sat in a big chair there, my feet up on the table, and that mountain was just as light as day. But there wasn't any action on it, nothing coming out of it. It's clear. It was a hell of a beautiful picture. But those quakes was every minute. I sat in here last Tuesday night, it's coming on the minute, every minute. In fact, it's almost a continuous shake. And the building's going just about like it was here, a little worse than you felt a little while ago. 3 or 4 of them was worse than that, see? And when I left, I sat down here a couple, 3 hours right here looking at the mountain, and when I left, it's still shaking. I went back up and went to bed, and it lulled me to sleep, quivering and messing around a little bit. Nothing rolled me out of bed. See, one of those big quakes I had a few years ago rolled me right out of bed. Now that baby, you wasn't going to stay in bed at that quake. No, sir, you couldn't stay in there. The double master, you'd have to change yourself down. So you see, I've lived through 2 pretty damn good quakes in this place. They was up in the 8th class. And that scares you. So I've been scared of them ever since. And I'm scared of them yet, tell you the truth. I'm shaking like a leaf now.
And on it goes. Not even an earthquake can make Harry skip a beat.
But there's been hundreds and hundreds of flights over there that they just saw us okay. They knew us all right. So in 15 minutes, they go back and said, hell, the old man's all right. He's just struggling around there. 90% of the time, I'd wave at him and have a Coke high in my hand. So they knew it was healthy.
Just a Coke?
Well, just a Coke. A little Shinley's in it. Well, Shinley's Coke hadn't contacted me yet, but they're getting some pressure put on them, I want to tell you.
Even geologists stopped to consult with Harry because the man is a walking, talking seismograph.
Hey there. You in there now. You know, the other day, that beer sign, the big reindeer beer sign up there, that's going 2 feet against the wall. And you out there now, out in my lobby, every one of those balls, you could feel it moving.
How big would you say that was?
Oh, 3 and a half.
Seems like a pretty good accurate...
Yeah, three and a half, yeah. It'll be that. I saw so many of them.
Where will it all end for Harry? At 83, only the sky seems to be the limit.
I've got a dozen friends that wrote for me from every state in the Union that said they wrote the Real People show and they want me on it.
What do you think about going on something
I won't
like
do it.
Why not?
No, I won't go because I've looked at it. It's a marvelous show. I like it. It's a hell of a show. And from the inception of it, day and night, I think it's one of the best things in it. But I've seen all those people. I have nothing to offer like those people have.
Don't be too sure of that, Harry.
Radio, television, they say, play it again, Sam. Play it again, Harry. Maybe it's a crazy idea. If I had anything to do with that goddamn mountain, I'd stopped it the other day. I'd have flew over there, that bomber, and I'd dropped a bomb right in the middle of that big crater. That'd have been the end of it. When that bomb exploded down the base of that, it blew that thing right out of there. Hair, guts, and feathers and all, it went up. Then the snow and ice had come in the next 10 years solid in there, and they wouldn't have no more trouble. I lived up there 50 years. I had some people yesterday ask me why the hell I stay there and what am I doing up there. That's my life. Spirit Lake and Mount Saint Helens is my life, folks. I've lived there 50 years. It's a part of me. That mountain and that lake is a part of Truman, and I'm a part of it.
It's exactly 100 miles from the Interstate Bridge to Spirit Lake on Mount Saint Helens. The drive took us out Interstate 5 north to the Highway 504 exit. Harry? Mr. Truman? Somebody was living here. Somebody was feeding the cats. That somebody finally emerged from the back door of the very lodge we stopped at first. This rosy-cheeked, cupid-faced curmudgeon is 83-year-old Harry R. Truman. Forever accompanied by a glass of Coca-Cola and whiskey, Harry says he hates to drink, but people drive him to it. Harry came to Spirit Lake in 1928. He walked the last miles from a logging road to the lake on snowshoes. The resort was built a year later. 2 times it was destroyed by foul weather. Twice Harry Truman rebuilt. You can still rent a cabin or a boat, but for the most part, the store and the lodge is closed. A few items remain for sale, but beware, the customer is hardly ever right.
Still intend on showing up here Friday, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
On that cabin? Okay, I got your money. You better. I'm going to keep it if you don't.
There's no doubt the Harry R. Truman Resort has seen better days. Those were the days Harry used to hide his profits under a log in the woods. He says he quit that a while back. Last time it snowed, the log and his money were lost forever. And this year, it's the weather again that's causing him grief. You making a living here, though?
No, I'm going broke. Can't hardly make it, honey. The old broken down man, but I'm taking pills.
Well, I've heard you're the richest man on the mountain.
Well, hell, I'm the only man up here. If I had $10, I'd be the richest man.
Poor old Harry. He obviously feels sorry for no one, least of all himself. Harry showed us the spread. He calls his favorite cabin Truman's Passion Pit. It's painted bright pink, and Harry says it's not just for newlyweds. But it's pink, Harry.
Well, look, that's what the Passion Pit is pink. But I got the way I wanted to show you. I got one down here that has the trick room.
Don't bother to bring your own camper or private boat. If you don't like what Harry has to offer, Harry says, don't come.
If they live with me, if I like them, I like them. And if I don't like them, they know it. They might just well go someplace else. I tell them if they don't like my apples, don't shake my tree. That's my slogan. My old Uncle Harry, he told them you can't stand the heat, stay out of the kitchen, didn't he? That's what old Harry told them.
He's proud and defensive. He also has a heart as big as the lake he loves so dearly. He always has something to say, and it's frequently a warning to those who think they'd like to take his land away. Harry's battled for years to keep his interest on the lake and keep his sign in place.
It's an emblem of me. That damn sign's been there 50-some years.
What if you took it down?
Well, I'm not going to take it down. Nobody's going to take it down until they take me down on a wooden kimono down that road. Backwards when I go down that road or I'm not leaving. And I'm not going to take my name off of that sign that's sandblasted. I've changed it 5 times in my life, and it's going to sit there till it rots down. And by God, I'd like to see the man that's going to take that sign off that post.